today is day 8. I am Nancy Sawyer. I am the coach of the month for the 365 Pay It Forward talks for Life Coach University. It's a pay it forward. So all of these talks are completely free. All we ask is that you pay it forward during your day. I am a certified coach and I focus on helping people to master midlife. I help people to step into their next chapter with confidence and grace after experiencing difficult midlife challenges, such as going through a divorce, losing a parent. Sometimes we just wake up one day and find that our life is stagnant and we feel stuck, or that it's not fulfilling and we know we need something different, but we're not quite sure what it is. So I help people figure out what that is, rediscover their joy, and move into their next chapter. So you may know that I'm here with you every Monday through Friday for the month of November. I'll be here at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Please join in. Please share it with your friends, tell your colleagues, tell your coworkers, tell your family to join in and hang with me here. We'll be tackling a new topic together every day. So there is a Q&A box at the bottom of the screen, hopefully. If you have comments, questions, please put them there. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'd love to answer any questions you have. I will check in. I'm going to talk for a little bit, and then I'll check in with that Q&A and answer any questions that I see there. So thank you for coming today. Welcome to day 8. Today is a great topic. We're going to talk about acceptance. Now, this may seem like a funny topic for a life coach to talk about because coaches work with people who want change, right? So why would I be talking about acceptance? Well, when we understand acceptance, we can then move forward into a new chapter or part of our life. We can experience better relationships. We can experience more fulfillment and more happiness. When I think of acceptance, I think of a big exhale. Sometimes we fight things. We want to change things. We are in a state of fighting against something. And this gives us this energy of fighting, and it has an angry undertone, right? When we are in that state, we're in a heightened state of awareness. We can't really step into flow. So things don't come easily when we're in that state because we're in a heightened fighting stance. So as you go about your day, think about it. Are there things in your life that you're not accepting, that you're fighting against? Things that maybe you can just exhale and let go of. And if you stopped the fighting, maybe things might fall into place. Okay, so let's dig deep into acceptance. Acceptance of what? What does this mean? What do we need to accept? I break it down into 3 categories. There's acceptance of circumstances, acceptance of others, and acceptance of self. So if we talk about acceptance of circumstances, take a look around you. What's going on around you? As I mention often in all my talks, we must become observers of ourselves. Take a look around, observe. What are the circumstances? Have things changed recently? Maybe you've been through a divorce. Maybe you have changed jobs. Maybe you've lost someone who's close to you. So for example, if you've been through a divorce, what is it that you need to accept? Is it that the future you dreamed of is no longer going to happen? Is it that the couple you were is no longer? Is it that the person you trusted let you down? If someone you have loved passes away, a parent, if that's the case, what do you need to accept? Is it that your dad is no longer with you? That someone you have relied on for much of your life is gone? Acceptance of circumstances can be tricky and difficult. This is why many people get stuck here. They focus on what is missing. They want it to be different. They long for that thing that is no longer there. They wish for it to still be there. And we can hang on to the pain a little bit too long. We get stuck in the victim cycle of woe is me. Look at what happened to me. I want to point out it is always appropriate to grieve after difficult life experiences. Please allow yourself to grieve. We talked about grief in day 2, and you can rewatch that talk if you'd like some guidance in that area. So sometimes people get stuck and they don't accept the circumstances. Maybe you move to a new town, you get a new job that you don't like as much as the old one. Maybe your coworkers aren't as friendly. Maybe you're in a book club and you don't like this month's book, right? It can be anything. So how do you move into acceptance? The first thing to do is to take a step back. If you're complaining or spending your time talking about how much you don't like what's going on, you're wasting your energy. You see, energy is really important here. We only have so much of it. So if you're using your energy to focus on the negative, that's a waste of your energy. What we want to do is shift and focus on the positive. We want to focus on the future. Focus on the options and possibilities that are available to us now in the new circumstance. We want to accept what we cannot change, and we want to shift our energy to what we can change. So I just want to give you a quick example here. So imagine there are 2 people that both start working a new job the same week. Neither one of them likes it at first. Person number 1 spends their days grumbling, having a bad attitude. Maybe they curse under their breath when there's no coffee in the break room because that's not what it was like at their old job. Maybe they're annoyed that the schedule is different or that there are more meetings than they're used to. Maybe they have to find their own time to hop off the computer and take a break. The day seems much too busy. Maybe they have to manage their day differently because of a new boss's expectations. So this person might leave the office, and as soon as they get in the car, they call their best friend and they complain about how horrible their new job is, right? They hate their new job. They go home, they grumble to their spouse about how awful the new job is and how much they loved their old job and how it was so much better in the old job. Let's take a look at person number 2 who started the same job. Person number 2 goes in and notices things are different here. They realize they're the new guy or girl. They decide that, hey, if I'm going to make friends, maybe I should reach out to someone. They might ask a coworker for help. How do I get in touch with the HR department about the health insurance? They might reach out to another coworker and say, hey, I love how your office is set up, right? They might invite someone to go on a walk with them at lunchtime instead of going to the cafeteria, right? This person notices that things are different. They ask questions, they engage. They want to learn how things are done in this company, in this environment. They notice the things that they don't love as much. And maybe they even offer suggestions if they see an opportunity to share something they learned at their former job. This person goes home after work and does something they love. They reflect well on what went well during the day, what they've learned. They're eager to get more into the groove tomorrow. So I ask you, which person do you think is going to be happier? Which person is going to be more fulfilled, more pleasant to be around? Which person is going to be promoted in a few months or years? And an important question, which person are you? So let's move on to acceptance of others. We just talked about acceptance of circumstances. Let's move on to acceptance of others. We all know, you've heard it said 1,000 times, we cannot change other people. We're all human and we're all doing the best that we can. I always try to assume the best of others. Oftentimes we fall into the trap of assuming the worst or taking things personally. Assume the best. Assume that they are trying their best and they're doing the best they can to show up well. Humans are complex individuals, okay? We bring many different traits to the table, and we all have strengths and we all have weaknesses. So accepting others for who they are instead of trying to change them is going to make you a much happier person. Think about it. Are there people in your life that try and change you? We often resent that, okay? If there's someone in your life who's badgering you about your shortcomings, or who's telling you you need to act differently or be different, that doesn't feel very good, does it? So are you doing that in your life to someone else? As you think about others in your life, how can you step into acceptance of who they are? How can you celebrate their strengths rather than focusing on their weaknesses? I want to share with you something. I have 2 children. I love them both dearly, and they are very, very different. My firstborn is super organized and a great planner. My secondborn, not so much. For a time, I was focused on trying to make my secondborn better at organization and planning. I tried everything. I tried working with them. I tried talking to him. I tried badgering him. Nothing worked. Here's the thing. Now I understand that that may be something that child will never master, and that's perfectly okay. That doesn't mean that they are any less than, and that doesn't mean that they can't be successful, okay? So once I stopped focusing on what was lacking, and I began focusing on his strengths got stronger. Our relationship improved. You see, he's super loving. He always says, Mom, give me a hug. Mom, I love you. Mom, thank you. He's super sweet. My planner, on the other hand, can kind of take me or leave me. She's very independent, right? Point being, everyone is different. We all have different strengths. And attempting to change people or to make them into what they are not is wasted energy, okay? Focus on what we love about them. Focus on what's great about that person instead of trying to change the things we wish were different. So your relationships will improve as you start doing this, because as we thought about earlier, when people are trying to change you, it doesn't feel very good, right? So I ask you, are there things that you can work on accepting about those that are close to you? All right, let's hop into the last part. Also, I would argue the most important, acceptance of self. This is a big one. You are human. You are not perfect. We all have shortcomings. Self-acceptance is so tricky. We have that negative loop in our head that says, you're not good enough. I suck. I'm not worthy. I always mess up. I never follow through. I'm a failure, right? What do your voices say to you? What does the loop in your head sound like? In order to gain control of this, we have to stop listening to that. We have to understand that we are not our thoughts. We have to stop it in its tracks and even talk back to it. So understand that voice is not you. It's conditioning. It's what you were exposed to as a child. It's marketing, it's television, it's education, it's religion, all the rules you're supposed to follow. It's everything you've been exposed to as you've grown up, grown into an adult and beyond. You don't have to listen to that voice. So self-acceptance begins with telling that voice, no, I am okay. In fact, I'm pretty awesome. You're wrong. So start paying attention. The next time you hear that voice, stop it. Take a pause. Delete that thought, just like you delete those junk emails. You don't have to open that email. You don't have to read it. Just delete it. Move on to the better thoughts that come up, the ones that support you. Keep doing this over and over and keep reminding yourself that you are an incredible being, faults and all. Embrace all of you. There's a great quote that I love. I love this one. I remind myself of it all the time. You are allowed to be both a masterpiece and a work in progress. So acceptance, it means accepting things that are out of your control. It means focusing your attention on what you can control. It means choosing not to complain about things you can't change. This doesn't mean you have to like it, by the way, but you can ignore it. There's something you don't like. You don't have to complain about it. You don't have to try to change it. There are certain things you can just ignore. They're just part of life. Acceptance means loving others for who they are, not for who you want them to be. Acceptance means loving yourself, every part of you, and embracing the beautiful, unique person that you are. So I'm just going to hop into the Q&A here. I see there are a couple of questions. So someone says, I'm in this pattern. One day I wake up full of life, positive. Then the next day I wake up down in the dumps. I can't seem to stay steady. I don't want to accept this up and down. One of the biggest questions we have to ask ourselves when thinking about acceptance is, what do we have to accept? And is this something we have to accept, or is this something we can change? So good for you for recognizing that pattern. You're paying attention. You're seeing what happens. One thing that I would encourage you to do, or that you could try, is, you said you're in a pattern of up and down. One day I wake up full of life. The next day I wake up down. Start tracking it. Start tracking it. Maybe keep a little journal each day. How do you feel today? And then maybe even check in midday and at the end of the day. How are you feeling? Start paying attention to those patterns. And then what I want you to do is take a look at what happened before you jotted down that note. On the days that you feel good, or on the days that you're feeling more positive, what happened before? Did something happen that morning or the night before that lifted you up? Once we start becoming an observer and figure out what is happening before we feel that way, sometimes we can figure out how to integrate more of those positive things into our life. Yesterday, we talked about reverse engineering your feelings. So this is kind of something to think about. What's happening before? If it's truly an up and down, up and down, up and down, you may want to seek a therapist to figure out if there's something else going on, if it's a chemical thing, okay? So do what you can to observe when you feel great, acknowledge when you feel great, celebrate that. And also know that it is part of life sometimes to feel down, and that's okay. You know, we live in a society where they push that you should always be happy. If you watch the messaging on TV and commercials, everyone's always happy all the time. There's not a lot of acknowledgement of real life. And sometimes real life leaves us sad, right? Sometimes we have bad days. It's perfectly okay, and it is perfectly normal. So if you're having too many bad days or too many bad moments, you might want to seek out a therapist. I hope that's helpful. But start by tracking, see where it comes. Okay, here's another question. I feel so disappointed by others. I can't accept the way some people act. If I accept them, doesn't this put my own values to one side? That's a great question. So here's the thing. Disappointment happens when we have expectations. When you live by your own values, okay, you can only control what you put out. So the way I live, my mantra for life is always approach everything with love and kindness. So even if someone treats me poorly, even if someone treats me badly, even if I'm upset, I always, before I send off that email or before I respond to that text or before I engage in an interaction with someone, I take a pause and I say, how can I respond with love and kindness? That is one of my values. That's in alignment with who I am. So you can only control what you put out. You cannot control how others receive it. One of the things we get trapped in is we assume that everyone is like us. We assume people are coming, bringing the same toolbox, the same education that we have. And here's the thing. Sometimes people behave poorly because they don't know any better. They haven't been taught. They don't have the same tools that we have. I have learned to focus, again, on only what I bring to the table and what I can put out. And what people bring is what they bring. It's all their stuff. And yes, we do get disappointed, but only if we have expectations. I've learned to step into every interaction without expectations. Things are happening. Things are going to happen. It's life. So if you accept other people for who they are, I don't think it's putting your values to one side. An important distinction is, are you having boundaries? If you're letting people badger you and letting people treat you poorly over and over in a repeated way, that's a different story. That's where you're going to have to put up some boundaries and not allow that in your life. Okay, so accepting people for who they are doesn't mean that they get access to you. Doesn't mean that they're allowed to treat you poorly. That's a whole different story. And something that I would invite you to explore is about boundaries if people are affecting you negatively. I hope that is helpful. Okay, I have another question here. I was really bullied in school. Even now in my late 50s, I can't shake the sadness that I was bullied as a kid. Why are some people so mean? It's a great question. I'm really sorry that happened to you. So why are people mean? There's a quote that comes up for me, and that's hurt people hurt people. Maybe you've heard that before. Hurt people hurt people. People are often mean because they are hurting. They are lashing out. They don't know what else to do. Again, back to the toolbox things. They don't have tools to manage their anger, their sadness, their pain. And they lash out in the only way they know how. Sometimes we learn these lashing out ways from parents. Sometimes we learn it from movies, right? There are people that are mean. It is absolutely true. It is part of life. One of the things that I do to understand that is we step into empathy and we start to think of that person and what they have gone through that would put them in such a place that they would think it's okay to be mean to each other. I think of when I see people that are hurting others, I immediately see a small child inside of them that probably had a really difficult upbringing, not much support, not much love. They are a hurting person. And the only way they can think of to express their pain is to hurt other people. It's not okay. It's awful. But I see that as people that are so hurting. It makes me, I'm getting emotional right now because it makes me feel very, very awful that we are so mean and the cycle continues. So I want to also point out, you said you can't shake the sadness that I was bullied as a kid. And I want to let you know there's a lot of trauma out there. By the time we're adults, we have been through a lot. We've been traumatized. We've been hurt. We've been through challenges. We've been through a lot of pain. And one of the ways we can work through that, well, number one, you can seek out, there's trauma therapy. There are trauma-informed coaches who can help you. What happens is the inner child is sad. We have that inner child, which is always going to be a part of us. It's there. That person is with us. And I do an exercise. I've been through some trauma myself that I've been working through over the past several years. I do an exercise where I sit and I close my eyes and I envision my inner child. And I invite her to join me. And I speak lovingly and kindly to her. And I tell her I love her. And I tell her what happened to her isn't okay. And I'm here for her. Perhaps an exercise such as that may help you. Just sit quietly for a few minutes, invite that young child who was bullied. Say, I love you. I've got your back. I'm here for you. We're here together. That can be very powerful as you step into healing these traumas that are long held. Long held. I hope that is helpful. Excellent. All right. I think that is all the questions that we have right now. So I hope this has been helpful. I want to let you know, thank you for putting in the questions, and I hope it was helpful. I offer free coaching on my website. As part of my Pay It Forward for Life Coach University, I offer several free sessions each month. So if you want to talk more about what you're experiencing, if you'd like to chat more about this, I'd be glad to spend some time helping you work through it and finding some tools and strategies to move forward. You can go to nancybsawyer.com, and there's a thing that says the coach is in, and you can click that button and book a session with me. No charge. It is a pay it forward because I love helping people. And if I can help you have a better, happier, more fulfilling life, I am all in for that. So please reach out to me if I can help you. All right. So as we close up, it's just a reminder, you have the power. You can choose what you focus your attention on. So if you have those thoughts arise, the unpleasant thoughts, take a deep breath. Decide if you want to go with that thought, if you want to continue fighting, or if you want to accept, or if you want to accept that negative thought loop in your head, or if you want to let it go, right? Shift your focus. In that pause, in that breath is your choice. What are you going to choose? Are you going to choose acceptance, or are you going to choose pushback or fighting? It's up to you. As you go about your day today, I invite you to take some breaths to observe, what are you fighting against? That is wasted energy. How can you come into acceptance today? Embrace your beautiful self. Everything that you have been through in your life has brought you here to where you are today. And we have to accept all that. You're an incredible being. The world needs you. Give yourself an embrace and accept yourself as you are. You are wonderful. So thank you for joining me today. This has been a 365 Pay It Forward talk through Life Coach University. All we ask is that you pay it forward in some way throughout your day today. I hope you'll join me tomorrow for day 9. We're going to talk about how our words create our reality. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day.